June 4th, 1942, 10:22 a.m. 3 Japanese aircraft carriers are about to die. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu. Their flight decks are packed with fueled aircraft. Bombs lie armed beside elevators. Aviation gasoline fumes hang in the air. Mechanics are still working between parked planes. Zero fighters are down at sea level, chasing American torpedo bombers. Above the fleet, the sky is almost empty. Then shadows appear overhead. American dive bombers roll into near-vertical dives. No warning. No time to rearm. No time to react. And one of the squadrons diving toward those decks launched from a carrier Japan had already declared destroyed. The United States ship Yorktown. The Japanese battle plan for Midway was built on one certainty: 4 carriers versus 2. But at 10:22 a.m., that certainty shattered, because there were 3. And in the next 6 minutes, the balance of power in the Pacific would flip. But to understand why those bombs fell the way they did, we need to go back 27 days. May 8th, 1942. The Battle of the Coral Sea. Yorktown is hit by a 250-kilogram bomb. It punches through the flight deck, explodes deep inside the ship. 66 sailors are killed instantly. Elevator machinery is wrecked. Compartments flood. Fires spread across multiple decks. Thick smoke pours into the sky. From 10,000 feet, Japanese pilots watch her burn. They report her listing: trailing oil, slowing. To them, she looks finished. Japanese command assessments soon reflect that belief. Yorktown is listed as either sunk or permanently out of action. When planning accelerates for Operation MI, the attack on Midway Japanese staff officers remove her from the American order of battle. 2 carriers remain in the Pacific: Enterprise, Hornet. Yorktown is erased. And that single assumption becomes the foundation of the entire operation. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto's plan depends on it. 4 Japanese fleet carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, against 2 American carriers. 4 versus 2. Overwhelming strength. Mathematical dominance. Certain victory. But the math is wrong. Yorktown does not sink. She limps away from Coral Sea under her own power at nearly 20 knots. Damage control teams contain flooding. Engineers keep boilers alive. Flight operations are suspended, but propulsion remains intact. She is wounded, not dead. On May 27, 1942, Yorktown enters Pearl Harbor. What she looks like shocks even experienced officers. Her hull is scarred. Internal compartments are twisted. Structural beams are cracked. Fuel systems are ruptured. Under peacetime standards, repairs might take months. But Pearl Harbor is not operating under peacetime standards. Admiral Chester W. Nimitz has intelligence. At Station Hypo, American codebreakers have partially penetrated Japanese naval code JN-25. They know an operation is coming. They believe AF means Midway. They estimate the attack date, June 4th. That leaves exactly 3 days. Nimitz makes the decision: repair her, now. Approximately 1,400 shipyard workers flood aboard Yorktown. They do not aim for perfection. They aim for function. Damaged beams are reinforced, not replaced. Electrical lines are rerouted externally. Fuel leaks are patched and sealed. Boilers are restored to operational capacity, though not full power. 72 hours after entering dry dock, Yorktown is cleared for combat. She is not fully repaired. Her maximum speed is reduced. Some systems remain compromised, but she can launch aircraft. That is all that matters. On May 30th, 1942, Yorktown sails. 2 days later, she joins Enterprise and Hornet northeast of Midway. Now there are 3 American flight decks in the Pacific. Japan does not know this, and that ignorance will become fatal. June 4th, 1942, 4:30 a.m. The Japanese strike first. 108 aircraft launch toward Midway Island. A second wave waits on deck, armed and fueled. prepared to strike American ships once located. Shortly after 7 a.m., a Japanese scout plane reports sighting American naval forces. Initial contact reports are vague. The number of carriers is unclear. Meanwhile, American carriers begin launching their own strikes. The first to reach the Japanese fleet are torpedo squadrons. At approximately 9:20 a.m., Torpedo Squadron 8 from Hornet attacks. 15 aircraft go in. 14 are shot down. No hits. Minutes later, Torpedo Squadron 6 from Enterprise makes its run. Most are destroyed. Still no hits. Then Torpedo Squadron 3 from Yorktown attacks. Again, catastrophic losses. But something is happening below. Japanese Zero fighters descend to sea level to intercept. Combat air patrol altitude drops. Defensive coverage thins overhead. And on Japanese flight decks, aircraft are being rearmed and refueled. Fuel hoses stretch across planks. Bomb carts are parked between planes. Elevators are cycling. The sky above the fleet begins to clear. High above, American dive bombers are converging. From Enterprise, Bombing Squadron 6 and Scouting Squadron 6. From Yorktown, Bombing Squadron 3, led by Lieutenant Commander Maxwell Leslie. Yorktown's slightly reduced boiler efficiency has delayed her launch cycle just enough to align arrival timing with Enterprise's squadrons. It is not planned. It is not coordinated. It is a coincidence shaped by damage. At 10:22 a.m., American dive bombers roll over into vertical dives. Below them are carriers that still believe they face two enemies. In reality, a third carrier One Japan erased weeks earlier has just entered the fight. And in the next few minutes, that miscalculation will burn across 3 flight decks. If you value direct, combat-focused naval history that explains exactly how battles were really won and lost, subscribe now. What happens next took 6 minutes and changed the war. At 10:22 a.m., bombs begin to fall. And one of the carriers delivering them was never supposed to exist. Lieutenant Commander Richard Best rolls his Douglas Dauntless over and commits to the dive toward Akagi. Behind him, other dive bombers split toward Kaga and Soryu. Air brakes scream open. The aircraft drop nearly vertically. 14,000 feet, 10,000, 8,000. Japanese anti-aircraft guns begin firing, but it is too late. The combat air patrol is still low, chasing torpedo planes that have already been destroyed. On Kaga's flight deck, aircraft sit wingtip to wingtip. Bombs are stacked beside them. Fuel hoses remain connected. At 10:24 a.m., the first bombs hit. Kaga takes multiple direct strikes. Explosions tear through her crowded hangars. Aviation fuel ignites instantly. Fire spreads faster than damage control teams can respond. Almost simultaneously, 3 bombs slam into Soryu. One penetrates near the forward elevator. Another detonates among fueled aircraft. Within minutes, her hangar decks are engulfed. Akagi appears to escape at first. Then a single bomb from Best's aircraft penetrates near her amidships elevator. It detonates in the upper hangar among armed aircraft preparing for launch. 1 bomb. That is all it takes. Within minutes, 3 of Japan's 4 first-line fleet carriers are burning uncontrollably. On the bridge of the Japanese flagship Akagi, Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo receives reports in rapid succession. Kaga, on fire. Soryu, on fire. Akagi hit. The plan had been built on 4 carriers overwhelming 2. In less than 6 minutes, half of that striking force is lost. And one of the carriers responsible for the attack Yorktown was never supposed to be present. But the battle is not over. There is still 1 Japanese carrier intact. Hiryu. Admiral Tamon Yamaguchi aboard Hairu reacts immediately. While smoke towers over the wrecked carriers, Hairu turns into the wind and begins launching a counterstrike. At approximately 11 a.m., 18 dive bombers and 6 Zero fighters head toward the American fleet. They are searching for 2 carriers. They do not know there are 3. At 12:05 p.m., Hairu's dive bombers find Yorktown. They approach through broken cloud cover. Yorktown has just recovered aircraft and is preparing to launch another strike. Her deck crews are exposed. Fuel lines are active. The first bomb hits near the center of the flight deck. The second detonates below decks. The third explodes near the forward elevator. Yorktown shudders. Boilers lose pressure. Power fails. The carrier slows and begins listing. From the air, Japanese pilots report what they believe is a decisive blow. They believe they have crippled one American carrier. But they also believe they have located only one. They do not realize they have attacked the same ship that struck them earlier. Damage control aboard Yorktown moves fast. Fires are contained. Counter-flooding corrects the list. Engineers restart boilers. By 1:40 p.m., Yorktown is making approximately 19 knots. From a distance, she appears operational again. When Hiryu launches a second strike at around 1:30 p.m., Japanese pilots are told to attack a different American carrier. At approximately 2:30 p.m., torpedo bombers from Hiryu approach Yorktown. They are confused. The carrier below them is underway, launching aircraft. They believe they are attacking a second ship. 2 torpedoes strike Yorktown on the port side. The damage is severe. Flooding spreads. The list increases dramatically. Captain Elliot Buckmaster eventually orders abandon ship. Yorktown is left dead in the water. But while Hiryu focuses on her, the other 2 American carriers are untouched. Enterprise and Hornet continue launching aircraft. At approximately 5 p.m., American dive bombers locate Hiryu. This time there is no confusion. Multiple bombs strike her flight deck. Fires spread. By nightfall on June 4th, all 4 Japanese fleet carriers that began the battle are either sinking or doomed. 4 carriers. For one. But Yorktown's story is not finished. On June 6th, 1942, as salvage efforts attempt to tow her back toward Pearl Harbor, Japanese submarine 168 penetrates the destroyer screen. It fires 4 torpedoes. 2 strike Yorktown. 1 strikes the destroyer Hamon alongside. Hamon sinks quickly. Yorktown rolls slowly to port. On June 7th, 1942, she slips beneath the Pacific. She does not survive the battle. But she does not need to, because her presence at 10:22 a.m. had already changed everything. Here is the reality. If Yorktown had not been at Midway, there would have been fewer torpedo squadrons, fewer dive bombers, less confusion in Japanese scouting reports, less pressure on combat air patrol altitude, fewer simultaneous attack vectors at 10:22 a.m. The timing that destroyed Kaga, Soryu, and Akagi might never have aligned. The Japanese expected 2 carriers. Instead, they faced 3 coordinated flight decks launching overlapping waves. The extra aircraft forced defensive decisions. The extra deck cycle created convergence. The extra pressure fractured command clarity. The Japanese lost more than ships that morning. They lost certainty. 4 versus 2 had been a guaranteed victory. 4 versus 3 was a risk. 4 versus 3, under surprise conditions, became disaster. And this is where the title becomes real. A sunk carrier helped destroy 3 Japanese carriers. Not because she was invincible, not because she was fully repaired, but because she existed at the exact moment Japan believed she did not. The entire Midway plan rested on intelligence confidence. Remove Yorktown, and the math works. Add Yorktown back in, and the math collapses. In 6 minutes at 10:22 a.m., that collapse became visible in fire and smoke. If you want more deep combat breakdowns like this, not myths, not hype, but the exact chain of decisions that changed battles, make sure you subscribe now. Because Midway was not won by luck. It was won by timing, by intelligence, and by a carrier that refused to stay sunk. On the ocean floor today, Yorktown rests upright more than 3 miles below the surface. Her hull still bears the scars of Coral Sea and Midway. But history does not remember her as a loss. It remembers her as the ship that broke Japan's arithmetic. And once that arithmetic failed, the Pacific War began to turn.